Hi! Welcome to another Dark Mushroom Media Cast. My name is Tim. With me is Palmer
Hey, how you doing?
and Jose.
So,
And we do gaming cast things and such, and we talk of news and things and such. So, let's
and
move on.
such.
And such. Let's move on to the news. Why don't we start off with the Half-Life 2 update, community-made update mod that came out, which I have no problem with. I really like it. Aside from just the visual overhaul, they added some things in, like, not developer commentary, because they weren't. Well, I guess they developed the mod, but they added in commentary as to the development of Halo and, like, maybe things that were supposed to be there, weren't supposed to be there. It's as someone who's played the game for fucking over a decade now, it's very interesting to see those little tidbits of information in there.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of poorly optimized, but it's still a
Is
lot
it?
of fun. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I have a pretty decent rig, and that shit should not be driving it as much as it nearly is. I mean, I'm not getting much stutter in terms of stuttering, but fans start going off like crazy. So I mean, it's fun. I've only played a few minutes of it so far, but I'm planning on actually sitting down and streaming it tomorrow morning, and really jumping back into that. I'm really excited about that.
Jose, where do you stand on Half-Life 2? I don't really know your stance on the game.
I love the shit out of Half-Life. I never played it like the correct way the developers wanted. Like from the get-go, I played with like, no clipping, and I learned every location where you have to like physically exist in the room for like the next part of the level to load. Like I memorized that game like crazy, like in a weird way. That's why I love the franchise. I barely played Half-Life 2. I don't know why, it just never appealed to me. I think it's because it came with the orange box. And I'd much rather played like Team Fortress 2 and Portal. So I never really delved into Half-Life 2.
And you never really, I'm guessing you never touched it like around when it came out, because the Orange Box came out a few years later.
Yeah.
It's a ways later.
A few years.
And really the only thing I enjoyed from Valve, honestly, was like Counter-Strike. And then Counter-Strike Source. And then that's it pretty much.
No Left 4
Now that
Dead.
this mod,
We had some good
kinda
times
rocked
on Left 4
with it.
Dead. Yeah.
but Counter-Strike uber alles. And let's see, I guess I didn't even know that this mod came out, so I'm absolutely gonna check it out now.
Yeah, it's totally free. There's really no reason to do it. It's like a whole standalone thing.
Yeah, it's
you
right
don't-
on Steam, so it's nice and easy.
Yeah, you don't have to own Half-Life at all to be able to play it, which is and that in itself is really incredible. The fact that Valve is like backing something like that and just saying, you know what, here, just take the game.
I just assumed you had to have Half-Life installed.
No, you don't. It's an entirely standalone thing. So yeah,
Is
like,
it made on the Source engine?
yeah.
like
It's a heavily updated source engine that they're doing. Like basically, it in terms of textures and stuff, it looks pretty much the same. Where it shines is its new lighting effects and like more detailed atmospheric graphics. Like when you're swimming through the water, it really looks like you're swimming through water. I don't know. They put on some sort of filter that it's kind of. I'm still not sure how I feel about that because of the fact that it really looks like you're just. If I wanted to swim underwater and stare at blurriness like that, man, I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of just like little nuances that make the game shine, but it really only does so in like the more outdoors, like environmental levels. Like, for instance, spoilers on a game that's been out for almost a decade. Like towards the beginning of the game when you first get out into the river, and you're avoiding a helicopter as it's dropping like oil barrels on you and stuff. That section of the game, just with the additional lighting effects, looks incredible. The new the enhanced water effects and stuff too. That game looks really really good. It's really quite amazing what they can still accomplish with the Source engine. So yeah. I like I said, I really plan on jumping really deep into that game tomorrow. So
I think the lighting and stuff is like where it's most noticeable. The graphical differences and updates rather.
shadows too, they're a lot more detailed. But yeah, it's subtle stuff, you know. I don't know that everybody would immediately pick up on it, but if you play that game for a few minutes and then go back and play the original version, it's pretty incredible, actually.
All right, speaking of mods, Renegade, Command and Conquer Renegade was a first-person shooter that came out fucking 13 years ago, 14 years ago now.
Really? Was it that long
Yeah,
ago?
it's 2001, 2002. It was a good game. It was fun, and it's one of the, as far as like underdogs go in the first-person shooter genre, it's one of those standout PC games that the PC community is really just fucking loved, and I think people still play it to this day. Like I picked it up a couple years ago on Origin just for it. But people have been working on an updated version of it called Renegade X, and this has been going on for fucking years now. But they just launched their 4th version of their beta, and alongside it, they launched the SDK for it. So people will be able to create their own maps and mods and all sorts of weird shit. The mod itself, again, is called Renegade X, and it's been around for a while, but I think with the release of the SDK, the community will see a bit new lifeblood pumped into it, because it's there, and it's been there for years, but it's not exactly massive, I would say.
Gotcha.
But it definitely looks cool. It's very... It kind of has a weird feeling of like old school Battlefield and Halo kind of mushed together. Very interesting. And they just, with this update, they added, new levels, a little bit of optimization, this and that. But
yeah, I don't really have any affinity for it. I never played the original, so I really don't know much about it. But I really love it when communities really have a chance to embrace something, because it's always incredible what they do with it. It's so funny to me how like a lot of the best stuff doesn't come out until like 5 or 10 years after the game has been out for a long time, and people have really had a chance to tinker with everything.
Well, you have to keep in mind, this isn't a mod of the original game. This is a standalone fucking thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, it's on engine and everything. That's why it's still in beta form, even though it's been in development for 3, 4, maybe 5 years. Maybe longer, actually. I'm pretty certain it's been longer than that.
Yeah, I just don't know much about it. I'll definitely check it out. Is the beta free to download? Where can people do that?
I'm sure if you Google Renegade X, it'll pop up.
Is it like, do you have to apply for a key, or is it
No,
just download?
You just download it.
Okay.
And now you can download the SDK. Yeah, it's just renegade-x.com. So I figured.
Do you have any idea what the player base is like for that?
I popped on it like years ago, and I was in a game with a few other people. But I'm sure with the release of the SDK and the new beta, it's
pick back up at least for a little bit.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, Palmer, you brought up something interesting. You said like 5 years after like a game releases, the community or the developers themselves, release something or continue like support for it.
Mm-hmm.
It just reminded me of like Final Fantasy VII or like any like Legend of Zelda game that like the developers, I guess Nintendo and like Square Enix, are just like milking the shit out of these franchises, and I think alienate the player base because all they do is release the game every year on a new platform and make no changes or updates or even allow communities to like mod or change the game in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are your guys' thoughts on these sort of shitty tactics that companies are using with their properties?
Yearly titles, I'm not a fan.
Not just like yearly, like Call of Duty 2 or 3 or 4, like releasing the same game.
Yeah, you're talking about like
over
how many
and over.
times? Yeah. I see what you're saying. I mean, I don't know. As far as alienating the fan base goes, I mean, with Final Fantasy VII in particular, like, I'm fine with that. Them constantly releasing that game on whatever they want to. I mean, the bottom line is there's still people who haven't played it and may not have had an opportunity to play it, and it's not like it was a multiplayer game. It was a single player game, so they don't really have to worry about whether or not their market is gonna be like too spread too thin. But like, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, like I can see where you're coming from as far as like getting irritated, like paying for this game over and over again, but at the same time, I mean, I own it on like so many different things that it's fun to go back and play it. I don't know. A lot of the times though, like I pick it up, it's always for a reasonable price. It's one of those things where like I think I picked up Final Fantasy VII, just so I could play it on Vita, back when it was like on sale like a few years back, and I don't think it was any more than like $3 or $5 or something like that, and that was fine. I don't mind paying that again to be able to revisit it, because I don't have my PS1 anymore. There's no way I could play it otherwise. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. It is kind of shitty. I really do, especially with a game like Final Fantasy VII. The fact that they're just re-releasing that base game again on what, PS4, like that does kind of drive me up a wall, because it's getting to the point where they really just need to update it. But I don't know. There's something appealing about those graphics too. Really, I think it would be awesome if they did something like the Halo Remastered collection, or like the Master Chief collection, where you can switch back and forth between the original graphics and the new ones. Like, I would love for them to do something like that with Final Fantasy VII. That would be incredible. Kind of pisses me off that they haven't done that already.
That would be basically printing money.
Yeah, dude. How many people would pay for that? It'd be crazy.
A lot.
Yeah.
I can see your argument, but like also we have to keep in mind with when releasing like an older title, say Final Fantasy VII, on multiple platforms. Like I bought it on Steam when it came out on Steam, because I prefer that over PlayStation. So actually on a PlayStation, so I don't mind it so much. But yeah, it can get fucking just aggravating at points. So I can kind of see where you're coming from.
Yeah, definitely. What else do we have on the list?
GOG zinging Steam, which put a stupid shitty
Oh, yeah.
in on my stage.
Tell me about this nonsense.
What was the exact fucking line? Probably should have written that down somewhere. Basically just GOG expanded their refund policy. I think it was 2 weeks before.
Mm-hmm.
It was a week or two. It was 14 days before, and now it's 30. Basically, if you buy a game on GOG and you can't get it running, you contact them. They can't get it running for you. They will just refund your money.
Okay.
And that period, actually, it might have only been for a couple days. The point is, it was a shorter period, and now it's like a month.
Yeah.
And they kind of zinged Steam in the process, which just
with what? Their like announcement or something, or
the way they announced it with the.
That's funny that everybody's taking these pot shots at Steam now.
Yeah, that's basically all it is, and that just it makes me smile because lol.
Honestly, I still think Origin has them all beat. That whole 7-day, we don't give a fuck if you don't like it, just give it back to us thing. That's fine. I love that.
Yeah,
every company should do that. That's incredible that they're willing to do that.
That's EA buying back years of fucking frustration, though. That's what that is.
Yeah, but it doesn't even matter. Like that's still great.
Even.
That's still great.
Oh yeah, that's great policy.
And I mean, honestly, it's been at least 4 years now since Steam support has not been mediocre at best. Like it's not like this has just been like a sudden thing. Like people are just getting more fed up with it, I guess. Steam's never had good support at all.
When I first got on in like 2010, it wasn't bad. I had to contact them for something, but I think the following year when I had to follow up something, it just fucking took them 2 weeks to get back to me.
Yeah.
And it was I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was a fucking simple fix that they just had to flip a switch on their end, but it still took 2 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
And this was before they had, fucking millions of users online at any point in time. Which they do now.
Yeah.
Which also isn't helping with their fucking customer service, but,
Is what it is, I guess.
King is the king.
Something prime example of that is I was trying to play a game with a friend today. She has like a tiny window to play anything for an hour when her baby finally takes a nap. And so she's like, all right, let's play games. Like I turn around to grab something and come back and Steam is offline. Like you can't do anything on Steam. So like, mother of Christ.
That's almost a daily occurrence at this point.
It's become I've become more aware of it, and that's saying something.
It used to be like a once a week thing, and then it kind of a couple times a week that'll happen, and then just somewhere along the past 6 months it just shifted into a fucking daily occurrence.
I don't know, but it's that bad. Steam's
It absolutely. I've had Steam running constantly. Usually a day doesn't go by. I don't notice it down for some period of time.
Huh.
Pretty dicks.
I don't know. I never, even I don't know. I don't ever notice that much of a problem with it. Their servers have been going to shit lately, but I mean, like Dota alone. Jeez, Sam and I were playing ARDM the other night in Dota, and the servers weren't working, so we were like, all right, let's go hop on Counter-Strike, and of course those are Valve servers too, so those were just as bad. We were so pissed, dude. We just auto disconnects just left and right, man. Like, oh god, incredible lag. It was awful, absolutely awful. And it's like, well, those are like two. We were thinking about hopping on Insurgency, and we were like, well, no, like that's not gonna work either. I don't know. Valve definitely needs to get its shit together, but honestly, like, it still does. They still do a lot of shit right. I mean, there's. I don't know. Their sales have been lacking lately too. I don't know. They're definitely declining. But it's like a slow decline.
I don't think it's so much of sales are lacking. It's more just other third-party key resellers kind of have insane deals and kind of make 75% off look kind of dicks at this point. But my opinion, especially with bundle sites and shit like that now too.
Well, but then you always hear stories of like, I don't know, knockoff Chinese keys that work for a day and then they get like reneged.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to know what site you're going to. You can't go to a shitty third-party key reseller site is a shitty site. But I mean, just key seller sites in general, like Green Man Gaming or fucking.
No, dude, it's all about direct to play.
The fuck is the other one on the Gamersgate? Gamersgate, maybe. Yes. Maybe.
That site is so sketchy, but every single key they've ever given me works 100% of the time.
Really? Gamersgate?
No. Direct to play.
Oh, direct to play. Yeah, that site is fucking Russian.
That is like one of the sketchiest key sites in the world. But honestly, like, they fucking. I don't know, man. I've bought 3 games from them, and every single one of them has worked perfectly.
I can't wait till they all get revoked and you cry.
If they do, it's gonna be because I mentioned it in this podcast. I just ruined my secret.
This thing will be the fucking downfall of that site.
Yeah, definitely. Just the 2 users that are watching us right now, if we even have that.
All right, talking point I thought would make for interesting discussion. Obviously, we all go back and play older games. Jose with his fucking Rex Nebular, Palmer with your fucking Blood, and me with my fucking Fallout. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking of more specifically multiplayer games, because obviously with multiplayer games you need a multiplayer community and you need people actually fucking playing the thing, which, unless the games really stand out over the course of even a year, fucking the community will just die. But I mean, you do get the rare circumstances where people really love a fucking game, like something like a Bad Company 2 or fucking Halo, shit like that. My question to you two is, how far back do you typically, not even typically, in recent months, how far back have you gone?
In recent months?
Yeah, just 6 months, a year, whatever, just in recent time. How far back have you gone in a multiplayer game?
In a multiplayer game? That's a good question. Hold on, I'm gonna have to...
Like, for instance, me and Jose played a bit of Aliens vs. Predator over the weekend, because I fucking love that game and I made him buy it. And there was actually people playing it, not the fucking map Jose wanted, which tickled my fancy, but there were people playing it, and that pleased me. Very small number of people, but people do still play it. And like,
such a tiny community that they were crying about how they're so glad that it went on sale, because now there are people playing the game.
Right. Instead of just the tryhards that are usually there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that game's old. That game's really old.
It's 5 years. Like, I still go back and play Bad Company 2 at least once a month or so, just for the fuck of it. And even the expansion that came out for it, Vietnam, people still play on that, which really surprised me, because it's fucking 5-year-old DLC and people are still playing on it.
Diablo 2, that's the oldest I've gone back in the past few months. I hopped on that because I got a craving to play Diablo 3. I was like, no, I'm going to play 2 for a little while. And,
I remember back in like 2009 when they implemented that update where like if you didn't log in for I think it was like 2 months, your character and all its items just got wiped.
deleted. Yeah. I started from ground zero. Yeah, that I don't know. That game's still fun to play. In terms of games that I would go back and play, I just haven't in a while. You know, pretty much the entire Blizzard catalog qualifies. I would totally go back and play original StarCraft and Warcraft 3 and Warcraft 2. I mean, I don't know, but those are like I think about like well I know I've hopped on Counter-Strike 1.6. Also,
Still has a very large community.
yeah, there are a shitload of people that still play that game.
Probably from that era, it has the largest active community. I would guess. Maybe something along the lines of like Unreal or. Yeah, I can't even think of a game that would come close because there's still tens. Right now there are tens of thousands of people playing that fucking game, and its variations.
Yeah, I don't know. That game's still. I've grown to really enjoy Counter-Strike Go, but it still doesn't. It still just doesn't feel right. There's things that are just off about it, and I don't know. It's just some parts of it's. 1.6 was just so fluid. Everything about it was so fluid, 100%. Like if you made an action, it was, or if you did anything, it was pinpoint and precise, and it was one of the best shooters like I've ever played. Period. And none of the other ones have ever felt that good to me. So I mean that's the reason I still hop on 1.6. That and people still play original Dust in 1.6, and that remains my favorite map of all time. Nobody plays that map in Go. Nobody wants to play that map in Go. It's always Dust 2. It's always Dust 2.
My recent Source years, people still play that on Source, but yeah, on Go, you don't see it very often.
You don't see it at all.
It's all
on
Dust
Go.
2 all day, every day.
I'll be like spamming chat with, please, can we play Dust, please? It's just, would you like to switch to Dust 2? And everybody votes yes. That or fucking, you know, I don't know. A lot of people play Nuke on that too. I'm just getting so sick of those two maps. I'm just so sick of them. But I don't want to play anything new. I just want to play Dust. I want to play the older map.
I don't know. Counter-Strike's something I haven't really been able to get into recently. I played a lot of Go when it first came out, but I don't know. Because a lot of my friends list plays Go, and from time to time I get an invite, and I just don't really have the urge to pop on. It's not that I don't like Counter-Strike or Counter-Strike Go. I don't know. It feels like one of those... It's very 90s and old school, which normally I like, but I don't know. With the integration of the weapons and everything, it just kind of ran its course for me. I'm sure I'll get back into it at some point, but really, like StarCraft 2 or other games of that ilk for me, it's all about the mods. Like, mods on Counter-Strike Go are still fucking fun as tits, but they're not nowhere near the amount that there was on Source, even years later, because the game came out a couple years ago now, so that's kind of disappointing to me. I mean, there are obviously mods and stupid fun maps you can hop on in Counter-Strike Go, but just in comparison to Source, it's a very, very
or like
fraction.
the original one too. I don't know. I think that's part of the reason that I played so much the original one was just because it was always there was always something new to do in the original one. I mean, if you wanted to just do Scouts Knives, like it was easy to find. If you wanted to play Rats, you could do it. Like there were just so many stupid maps that had such a large group of people willing to play them that it was just, I don't know, it was nonstop fun. That's one of the reasons that was, or Ice World. Jesus Christ. Ice World was like one of my favorites, dude. Like,
Is that the one where like you start off behind like a big partition or like a wall?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then it's like symmetrical map, and then you go like up ramps to like fight on the second level.
No.
And there was like a glass, or there was like an opening in the center.
No,
I played. Okay, then it was 1.5 that I rocked the shit out of. This is like way back in the day, playing LAN with
pre-Steam.
20 dudes.
You're talking
Yeah,
about, yeah,
absolutely. And that was best because you had to download those maps because I don't think we were allowed to like play over like I guess the whatever internet we had, the T1 line. So one of us had to like download the maps and then host it on one of our like computers, and then we'd play like a different building. And it was always like building against building. And I do remember that it was 1.5. So that's
1.5.
that's the best one.
That's the best one.
That's when I jumped into it, but it wasn't until that's when I first started playing it. I mean, but it wasn't until Steam got implemented that I really started playing that game, because it was so much easier to find. Like, all of a sudden the community like was really generating a lot of maps at that point, and I don't know. I remember everybody bitching about the fucking what was it? The Riot Shield when that first got implemented in 1.6, and the FAMAS, and then the Galil and stuff back in the day when those weapons all got introduced, and everybody just hated the Riot Shield like more than anything in the entire world. Yeah, man. I share those memories though, dude. I played a lot of 1.5 too.
When did Steam come out? Like, when was it?
Launched with Half-Life 2004.
Yeah. No, it launched before Half-Life 2.
Yeah, but it was still 2004.
You sure?
Was fairly certain.
Huh. I mean, like, I'm not disputing. I just could have sworn it was like 2002 or 2003, like right around there. I don't know. Yeah,
that was a big deal at the time. That like,
everybody hated Steam.
Yeah, that was the big thing at the time, is you needed Steam in order to play Half-Life or Counter-Strike Source or Day of Defeat or yada yada yada.
Yeah, no, they introduced Steam way before the Source engine like even came around. Because there was a good period where it was literally nothing but the old Valve games, like the original Half-Life and Half-Life Deathmatch, or no, and yeah, the original Team Fortress. I don't even think they had the original Day of Defeat up before Steam launched. I think that got launched like a while after Steam did.
September 12th, 2003, so I was off by a little bit.
But yeah, I remember everybody hated Steam when that thing first came out. Everybody hated it. All of a sudden, like, people had to have an internet connection, and it made the whole world go crazy. PC gamers just shat all over that for the longest time.
Because it was DRM, right?
Yeah. And
now they welcome it with embracing arms.
Yeah, so it's funny how times change. It really is.
No, people still hate it, but like, Steam is good at like lying to us, or at least hiding it.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. It's just it's conditioned us to believe it's a good thing. Although I will admit, I do like the features that it implements, like the cross chat and like, all that other. You'd never had anything like that before. You'd have to use like AOL Instant Messenger to talk to people. Oh God, boys, do you guys remember Instant Messenger? Away messages.
Trillion.
Everyone would post their shitty lyrics that they thought were poignant to their life.
Yeah, dude. Oh God.
Absolutely.
They'd go to their Zangas.
Zangas, Jesus.
I wonder if those are still up.
Oh, dude, they definitely are. Yeah. Their Zangas and their MySpaces. Write blogs that everybody thought were interesting. Or that they thought everybody thought were interesting. Anyways, that's nothing related to gaming. We've got way off topic, boys.
Well, it's Monday, so nothing really hit Steam.
Well, let's talk about what we've been playing. I mean, you guys jumped into Alien vs Predator again. You said that was a pretty small fan base. What else have y'all been playing this weekend? Oh, we both jumped into Infinite Crisis for a little bit there.
Oh yeah, I completely fucking forgot about that.
Yeah.
Clearly a Dota killer.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't. It plays a lot like League of Legends.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah. It really just copies a lot of stuff from League of Legends. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's
not a good thing.
It's a good MOBA. It's at least fundamentally, it plays well. It does. Fucking Gaslight Batman is a shit. It is the shit.
I'm all about that Sinestro. By Rock.
Oh,
stupid
man.
yellow ring of power.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, like, it's something that I'm probably gonna stream it on Thursday. It's got potential to be something actually pretty cool. I don't know.
We have to keep in mind it's also out now. Like, it's not really going to be changing a whole hell of a lot.
Well, no, I'm
here
saying
on
like
out.
they have a huge like expanded DC universe that they can mine characters from.
Oh yeah, that's the
and-
one. That's what I really like. The not only it's not just different skins for different characters. It's different characters with different abilities from different
Yeah.
universes. That
Yeah.
initially is what I was like. All right, I'll give this a shot.
Yeah. So I mean, like there's a lot of potential there. In terms of like the next superheroes that they release, because there's so many fucking good ones, dude. There's so many fucking good ones in the DC universe. So I mean, it'll be fun to watch that game grow, and I know there's gonna be points where like they're gonna release somebody, and I'm gonna catch wind of it, and I'm gonna play that game for a week, and then never play it again for like 3 months. And then,
Yeah, that's just exactly what's going to happen with that game. And
yeah. So I mean, but it is what it is. I'm not saying
it's a solid game. I just don't see pouring many hours into it myself. It might be something I'll hit up with like you and Arash or something once.
Yeah,
once in a while.
I'm trying to actually convince him to build a PC now. With that game single-handedly, I may convince him to build a fucking PC.
And that is some sad state of fucking affairs.
He will play the living crap out of that. He was like,
He
"Oh,
would,
this."
though. Yeah, he'd love that game.
He was like, "Oh, this looks like that Dota game that you were playing when we were all hanging out at your apartment."
That's one of the why I think that community will stay a community, just strictly because it's a fucking DC Comics game.
Yeah, definitely.
And not only that, but with the Infinite Universe angle, there's so many, like you said, there's just so many different characters and shit that
God.
they have potential for.
Yeah. So I mean, it'll be fun to watch that game grow. I hope it does get some sort of consistent fan base, because I want them to continue to release heroes. I don't want it to be one of those things where like it doesn't find an audience and it never has a chance to flourish. So I'm hoping that it will, but I'm sure with just the DC name itself, it'll have no problem, to be honest.
DC Universe
I think the
Online
fact that
still
it's a
fucking hangs
MOBA,
in there.
I think it's just more points for it, because I think those are just getting more and more popular. And if they had released like a fighting game or like any other type of game, like an MMO, I don't think it would have the longevity. But the very fact that it's a MOBA, because everyone has a hard on for MOBAs, I think it'll be around forever.
I don't know about
Absolutely.
forever.
That logic, though, it's flawless, or
I don't know, dude. Everybody really does have a
Absolutely
hard on
is.
for fucking MOBAs right now, man.
yeah, but I mean, it's getting to the fucking I can't remember the sins of a dead something.
Yeah,
I
I
played.
agree with the Immortal Iron Fist. Asterisk,
he's back.
DC Comics.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know. You're definitely right.
Sins of a Dark Age. That's what I'm thinking of.
Jesus Christ.
That is a terrible fucking game.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least they're playing a decent game, or made a decent game, regardless of like what it actually is. But
No, it's terrible.
But what else? I caved and I got Bloodborne.
How is that? How are you
it's-
enjoying that?
It's good. It's really good. I mean, it's really more of the same. I can't see you liking this if you didn't like Dark Souls or Demon Souls.
Well, it looks exactly the goddamn same, so one would
Ye-
assume.
It's just faster. Honestly, the nuances between this series and, at least as far as I've gotten, and like Dark Souls are very subtle. Like, well, not they would be subtle to somebody who didn't play a lot of Dark Souls. It's much faster paced. It really rewards players for aggression rather than taking their time and making like calculated attacks. And it's ever so slightly more casual. I've heard a lot of people say that it's more difficult. I really disagree. It's not more difficult at all. I have to grind. I find myself having to grind a lot more in this game.
As opposed to Dark Souls?
Yeah, a lot more in this game, but it's not because it's hard, it's just because of there's really only like one way to go, at least that I see. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what other people do with character builds, but like the vitality, like stats in terms of like health and stamina are so ridiculously important in this game that it's almost I don't know. It behooves you to choose them. It's almost a setback if you don't put points into it. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's a hell of a lot more gory. It's, you know, I guaranteed to at least put 30 hours into it, like I did with Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 couldn't keep me going. I don't know. I kind of fell off the hype train towards like 35 hours. I think I got
and
like
you
36.
rode that shit with reckless abandon.
Yeah, it just wasn't as good. It just wasn't as good. There's something, and I can't, and honestly, to this day, I really couldn't tell you. If you asked me to pinpoint exactly what it was that made Dark Souls 2 a little less, you know, good than the original one, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. It looks better. Honestly, it feels better. They made some really, really good decisions in terms of design and everything, but there's just something off about it, and I can't pinpoint what it is. And this game doesn't feel that way, but they're clearly going for something different. And on one hand, it's a little more casual, but on the other hand, I think we just lost Tim.
I'm good.
Oh, okay. On the other hand, I don't know. Would I buy a PlayStation 4 for it? No. You know, like it's a really, really good game, but it's not a system seller.
Which is what PlayStation or Sony was really hoping for, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, because it was this year, it was one of their big exclusive titles.
And I mean, it is a lot of fun, and maybe it's just because of the fact that I've only put about 7 hours into it, I think, at this point. And maybe it's because of the fact that I'm still, well, I don't really want to talk about where I am because that game's still new, and I don't want to give out any spoilers. But I'm still in the initial area, and I've realized that this game kind of like takes travel a little differently than in the other ones. Like basically, there's no bonfires. Instead, you have these lamps. And you can't hop from lamp to lamp like you could in Dark Souls, where you could hop from bonfire to bonfire. You always have to go back to the central hub world, so it's a lot like Demon Souls in that regard. So they kind of crippled the travel. It's kind of a pain in the ass now to travel between worlds, and later in that game, you really do have to jump between areas.
Well, how do you do that? Do you literally just fucking hop on a horse or fucking hoof it?
No. Basically, there's these lanterns that you find in the game, and then you touch the lanterns and it transports you to like this dream world, and the dream world is your central hub. That's where you do all your like character upgrades. It's where you do your weapon upgrades. Sometimes like special NPCs appear there and you have to talk to them to like kind of progress or like get items.
So kind of in the same ilk of like the first Dragon Age, where you had like your little base camp wherever you went, and you could interact with characters there and buy shit and sell off shit and shit like that.
Kind of, but you can't just like initiate it wherever you are. You know, you have to
use the lantern.
Yeah, you always have to use the lantern to transport back to the hub world. So like, and that wouldn't be that big.
When you grind in that game, do you just play a level over and over and over because you can't just go back to the hub world?
No, grinding is different and it's different with any Souls or any Souls game or any From Software game in the past like 5 years. Grinding, when I say grinding in this game, grinding is you don't stop until you die, and then you die and you start back over, and you take, and even if you found a shortcut, you take the long path to go back to where your body was so you can regain the experience that you just lost. How familiar are you with the series? Do you know that if you die, you
Not
lose?
at all.
Okay, so when you die, the game punishes you completely. All your experience stays on your character's body. So if you die and you can't return back to your body, you lost all that experience, every last bit of it. So basically, grinding in this game starts. You go to whatever point you want to go to. You play through the level as far as you progress. Eventually, something's gonna fucking kill you. Then you start all over, and you take the long path, and you kill off the easy enemies, and you basically double your experience when you pick up your body, because then you gained all the experience that you just lost, and then everything that you gained regrinding through the level. And you just kind of do that over and over and over again. But you get better at it each and every time, and you learn the enemy nuances, and it becomes faster. So what might have taken you 2 hours to do only takes you, 40 minutes the second time, and then, 15 minutes the third time, because you start learning exactly how to work the level, how to manipulate everything. And that's where the game starts getting rewarding, because all of a sudden you start collecting all this experience, and you go back to your hub world and you're just like, holy shit, now I'm a beast. Now I can upgrade my character enough to be able to beat the things that were killing me before. So it's one of those things where you die, you collect your body, you die, you collect your body, go back to the home world, upgrade, and then all of a sudden you can kill the things that were killing you before. That's really the way it works. It sounds really convoluted when I explain it that way, but I don't know. Some people don't like it, some people do. That game is it's still very hard. Bloodborne is still very hard. Don't let me try to say that it's not. I've died probably close to 50 times.
In the span of how long?
In about 7 hours.
You are scrub lord.
Well, I mean, honestly, half of that stuff comes, and it's one of those things that you don't really know until you play the game. Half that stuff comes because you're exploring somewhere new, and then something in the environment just rapes you. You just didn't know. Like you'll turn a corner, and all of a sudden a hurling boulder will come rolling towards you, or like, you know, you destroy some barrels and you can't really see too far into the level because it's dark, and all of a sudden you fall into a pit. Like, stuff like that exists all over the world. So like, no matter how good you are at the game in terms of combat, eventually exploration itself will get you killed, just because you won't expect it, you won't see it coming, and so then all of a sudden you know when it's coming, and you know how to beat it, you know how to progress through that area. It's one of those things where you have to die to learn, and it continues it very much in this game. So it's still really difficult. I mean, one thing that this game's atmosphere is much more intense than any of the other Souls games. The enemies themselves are genuinely terrifying. I was going through this tunnel, and all of a sudden this fat lard beast appears out of nowhere, and it looked almost kind of like the larder in Diablo 3, but it was like bigger, and it had this big giant sack on its back. And so when it kills you, it picks you up and then puts you in a random place that you've never been before. You don't go back to the hub world like you do every other time. I guess it just like knocks you out and puts you somewhere else. But it puts you in a really difficult fucking area, or at least it did for me, and I couldn't get out. So like I lost like, I don't know, 23,000 souls, or not souls, they're blood shards or something like that in this game. I lost like 23,000 of them, and that's a lot for as early as I am. And that really pissed me off. But that game gets very difficult very quickly. But the one thing that I think is really cool about it, because of its fast pace, the other aspect is that there's no shields. There's nothing to block with in this game. It's all or nothing. So like, you either like get very good at evasion, or you get very good at parrying.
I was about to say, you can't parry or anything?
You can parry, but the parry system's really fucking weird in this game. So you carry a projectile weapon, some sort of gun, and then you carry, you know, a melee weapon. Now the melee weapon can switch between two different weapons, so it's like a short range that's faster attacks, and then you can extend it out so it's a long range, slower attacks. And it's just that they deal different amounts of damage, depending on the extension. But the way you parry in this game is you have to time your gunshot correctly. You don't use like a melee attack at all. Like, the enemy will be coming in, and if you like shoot it at precisely the right moment, it'll cause the enemy to become stunned and fall to its knees. And then you do this thing called a visceral attack, where you can go up to it, and your character takes its bare hands and plunges it into the chest of whatever it is, and just rips out some sort of organ, and it deals a massive amount of damage. But it's incredibly hard to pull off. But my god, is it satisfying when you do it right. It's just a cloud of blood, and that thing just falls down, dude. Whatever it is that you're fighting, it deals like 4 or 5 times the normal amount of damage. And it's just like, it's ludicrous. So you have to get really good at like learning your enemy's attacks. Like, a lot of the time in this game, unlike any other Souls game, let me say, when I used to play other Souls games, it was my way of learning enemies' attack patterns would be to take a shield and sit there and let it wail on me until I learned, okay, all right, it's going to attack twice this time, it's only going to attack once this time, or this is going to be a long sweeping attack, or something along those lines. In this game, I just have to I have to pull an enemy using like a gun, and like kind of just dodge around it until I learn its attacks and hope that I don't attract anything else. While I'm learning how to take it down, especially for the big like hulking monsters that you see. And then you kind of just go balls to the wall once you've learned its attacks, because every time you get attacked, you lose life, obviously, but you have a brief window where if you attack back, then you can regain some of that life back. Which makes it a little easy, in my opinion, as compared to the other games. But it's an interesting mechanic, and I guess it's there to kind of even out the fact that you can't block anything. But I don't know. It's interesting. I'm really gonna have to put some more time into it. I know I will. I really do love the Gothic world. I really do love how much more intense this game is. It's not just like the other games have always been intense, but it's been because of the fact that it's just ridiculously hard. In this game, it's intense because of the atmosphere, and the types of creatures that you're fighting, and I don't know.
That's what initially drew me to Bloodborne, was the Gothic, dark, gritty atmosphere.
It's really
which
good.
the Dark Souls games have, but it seems much more apparent.
Yeah, it's really good in this one. And there's so much more to this game, and I really don't want to spoil it. But most people have really only seen like the Yarnum town, which is pretty much what's been in every video that they
like
released.
the tiny village surrounding like Transylvania or something.
Yeah. That kind of Gothic, like, city-looking structure. There is a lot more to that game. It doesn't all take place in that city. There are some really beautiful environments. So it's one of those things where the game kind of... In fact, like, now that I'm out of the city and I'm into other areas, like, I appreciate the level design in these other areas more now. Because they really are so much more beautiful, like, and it really challenges the power of the PlayStation 4. The one other thing, gripe-wise, that I have about the game is it has atrocious load times for a game that kills you that easily. To turn around and have to wait for a minute and a half, sometimes 2 minutes for a loading screen to go through, is ludicrous. It's really, really frustrating. And that's one of the reasons that I'm really pissed at the fact that you have to return to a hub in order to travel anywhere else, because it's another unnecessary loading screen. And when you have to wait, like, almost 2 minutes, in some cases, it's not every case. Sometimes it only takes, like, 30 or 45 seconds, but most of the time it's a minute or more. So when you have to deal with, like, those kinds of loading times, it's a pain in the ass. It's a real pain in the ass the way they set that up. Now they have said that they're going to patch it, that they are aware of the issue and that they're going to address it in the coming weeks. But I don't know. It's good. It's good. If I had to assign it some sort of number score now, which is kind of unfair, I'd give it probably like a 7.5 or an 8.
It's supposed to have a decent amount of length to it too. I think the main campaign alone is like 25 hours or so, and then if you grind in some side quests and stuff, it'll be around 40.
Yeah. Well, that's...
Are the enemies in the game like in the other Dark Souls games, where like they're in their set spot and you know where they're going to be, or are they like kind of randomly generated?
No, you always know where they're going to be, and you trust me, you're gonna... Well, no, that's not true. Sometimes they'll jump out at you. They will lay traps, and that's part of the thing that you're just going to have to learn also. But they'll always be at that trap. They'll always be ready with that trap. That never changes, So, like, once you discover that you just got jumped and you die from it, then when you go back, you'll know to expect it the next time. But it's one of those games where, like, you're going to be very glad that they never changed their positions, because that would make it so much more tedious. If they were all randomly generated, you'd probably die too easily, because part of the fun in that game is learning how to beat it. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, like, completely get it to the point where you're doing almost a speed run through everything. And you kind of get into that with, like, the New Game Plus options. Like, once you've learned how to play the game, it becomes this whole new thing. Yeah, they increase the difficulty a little bit, but it's one of those things that doesn't take you 40 hours the second time through. It only takes you 10, and then you just try to, like, beat it. Like, figure out how to manipulate the game. I've seen people beat Dark Souls 2 in, like, I don't know, 45 minutes. Like, it's one of those types of games where you learn it, you speedrun it type of thing, which is something that I find appealing about it. I don't know. it's definitely for a certain type of player. You have to be a glutton for punishment, and the same is true with Bloodborne. The other thing that I jumped into a little bit was Helldivers, which is another PS4 game. That game's a lot of fun too.
I thought something happened and you were turned off with that game.
No, well, the PlayStation did a discount, a coupon, which is why I bought both of these games. Because I was like, all right, well, I wasn't gonna get either of them, and then they released this coupon, and I was like, okay, well, I can get behind it. So I bought both of them. Helldivers is also incredibly difficult. I really need to find a team of people that want to play that. I really wish you guys had PS4s sometimes. Because that game it's another one of it's a twin stick shooter that's like meets like a bullet hell game. Everything can kill you. You play as like these space marines that are they're called Helldivers.
Space Marine.
And they basically go onto planets that are just the worst planets on the face of the galaxy and try to help defeat whatever it is. Like it could be like aliens, it could be like what do you call it, environmental effects, all sorts of stuff like that. Like you're the first squadron that goes to this planet, and it's your job to make it like clear for terraforming. And so when you land on the planet, you know, you take on waves upon waves of like robots or aliens or you know, whatever it is. But then on top of that, when other players join the game, their pods drop down on the map, and if you're standing underneath one of those, then it'll instantly kill you. Your own turrets, whenever you throw them down, the turrets don't give a fuck. They'll just shoot wherever they see an enemy, and if you get hit by those bullets, you have to it'll kill you. Like you know, there's friendly fire, obviously. Like it's a clusterfuck of gaming, and it looks
a lot like Alien
wonderful.
Swarm. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I am, yeah. It's much more difficult.
It's not a bad thing. I really like Alien Swarm.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for fucking stupid top-down shooters like that.
Yeah, that game.
I probably would play this with you if it was on fucking Steam.
Yeah, that game is. I'm so yeah. If it's one of those games where if it got to the point where it was on Steam, I would buy it again, just to be able to play it with you guys. Because yeah, that game's a hell of a lot of fun, man. It's a total blast. It's been really well received too, and it seems to have a really good player base. So I'm excited in seeing where it goes. And at first, it kind of comes across just like any other twin stick shooter, but it really starts developing a mind of its own. Like it's kind of interesting because it adds this really chaotic element. Whenever you want to summon down a pod, you have to pull out this little gizmo, and you have to enter the right code, and that code is a random number of button combinations. And so, like, say you want to call down more ammo, you have to hit like the arrow keys in the right pattern really quickly, because you have to do so like while you're taking gunfire and stuff, and like trying to avoid everything. So you're using the arrow keys to kind of like summon whatever it is that you need to help you, and it adds this extra element of just like crazy what the fuckness on top of everything else that's going on, because it's like you're managing like some sort of like music rhythm game while you're trying to dodge gunfire. It's really bizarre, man. It's a hell of a lot of fun though. It's one of those games that you can also kind of tell that the developers really had a lot of fun making this, because there's just a bunch of like little things in it that really kind of make it stand out when compared to a lot of other one-stick shooters. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm looking at just jumping into the Half-Life update, but I haven't had. You know, we already talked about that. What about you, Jose? What else have you been playing aside from Aliens vs Predator?
We only really played that for an hour, like on Saturday. It reminded me a lot of when we played on 360. You know, despite the whole DirectX 11 updates and all the stuff it wanted to be installed, like it looked just as good on my shitty 720p TV and my 360. Community was, you know, kind of small, but Tim, I don't know where he gets these stats, but he knows exactly what hours of the day people are very active on particular games.
SteamCharts.com.
Oh,
Anything that uses Steam, fucking Steam charts, it'll tell you how active the community is. Or times to pop on. Generally speaking, in the early afternoon for US East is when games are at their most popular. I guess, I don't know, lunchtime with us and then dinner time at Europe, so people are off work there.
Yeah, I mean, that game was super fun with, like, full lobby, so I'm sure it'll be even more fun with a precise mouse and keyboard. I've been playing a lot of Magicite lately, because I need something simple and, fun and challenging, because, I can't get into, like, a game that lasts, like, hours and hours and hours. It requires, like, too many, like, resources. So, let's see. But yeah, I not really all that much. I've been buying games left and right, but I haven't had really time to play.
I think in the past couple weeks you've been buying games more so than playing them.
Yeah, that's my thing.
That's your thing. That's your fetish now.
You're trying to build up your Steam library. I know those feels. I know those. Tim knows those feels.
Yeah, especially
past that. I'm done with that life. You hit 1,000 and you're just like, I'm good. It doesn't stop.
Yeah,
it's like Newman with the mail.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's honestly, it's getting to the point where there's just like not as much stuff that I want to get anymore. Unless it's like a stupid indie. But I still have yet to touch half the stupid fucking indies that.
Yeah, that's my problem. Is just my backlog is so huge, and even when I like make an effort to like fucking knock it out, and fucking I'm knocking games out left and right, it's just still I haven't touched, and I actually want to play, but it's fucking due to bundles or just amazing sales.
We still have yet to play Muffin Night, you son of a bitch.
Muffin Night.
Fucking Muffin Night.
Muffin Night.
Fucking Muffin Night. You're goddamn right.
Wait, I thought it was Shovel Night. I don't understand what.
I don't know.
Here.
Motherfucking Muffin Night, man. It's
Shovel Knight wishes it was Muffin Night.
Yeah, dude, it really does. It's like the original Super Mario. That kind of like level layout, except with like stupid little fucking cutesy characters that some of them are unicorns that poop rainbows.
that is a thing.
And I don't know, dude. There's just like one of them's like there's like a little like gnome sniper guy. There's like a wizard. There's like all sorts of like, and the characters just get like more and more crazy as you unlock them. And it's just one of those mindless games that you can play for 5 minutes, or sometimes if you're like me, you'll find that you've been playing them for 45 minutes and don't know what you're doing with your life.
That is a daunting moment when you realize you're playing something called Muffin Night.
Yeah, and you're actually enjoying yourself.
It's like 2 a.m.
Yeah. And you're just like glossy-eyed staring at your monitor, just like, Jesus. How long have I been playing Muffin Night for? Why?
It's a Tuesday morning. People are almost ready to like get up and go to work, and you're fucking just Muffin Nighting it up. There's one last thing might as well touch on, and that is Typing of the Dead.
Oh, yeah.
It got Steam Workshop support recently, which means you can now add your own words, so shit like mayhaps will suddenly just appear whenever I play that from now on.
Yeah, I mean, the words that are already in there are just fucking ludicrous, man. Like, even without any Steamworks support, the words that are in there are just silly.
Some of the DLC is fucking hilarious. Like, there's a Shakespearean DLC, which I'm not a fucking fan of Shakespeare, but just the idea of fucking surviving by typing Shakespearean phrases and words. That's kind of amusing. Dude,
yeah, I mean, it's actually a lot more. I personally think it's a lot more fun than playing it the regular way. To be completely honest, I don't know, man. And the game is just so shameless, dude. It's like it doesn't try to be anything more than like a wannabe exploitation film, and it succeeds wholeheartedly, like 100% at doing that. So I mean, that game's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play, and it was on sale, over the weekend, so it was down to what, like $5, I think, something like that. So I picked it up on a whim, and what a blast!
I initially just picked it up because you can play the old school House of the Dead style with your mouse as the gun, but I don't know. I think it's not a bad for like stupid growing up kids. It's probably not a bad tool for fucking teaching them to type. Although I guess we're in
Mavis Beacon.
We're in a day and age when everyone
all the way.
Mavis Beacon teaches typing. Fuck that program. Fuck that program. I remember that not very fondly, man. That was some of the most boring typing software I've ever. Jesus, man. I remember having to take that stupid computer class in high school, taught by Miss West. Oh man.
Jesus Christ.
What a class that was. Just nothing but stupid typing software for a whole goddamn year. It was awful. That was just awful. But yeah, man, I don't know. Typing of the Dead's a lot of fun. There are some really ridiculous phrases in that too, so I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know if that sale's still going on, but you should pick that up.
Weekend.
Well, you know.
It'll pop back up.
Yeah. Speaking of which, have there been any rumors for spring stuff?
What do you mean spring stuff?
Like a spring sale?
I'm sure they'll do one. They've done one for the past couple of years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Have there been any rumors circulating about like when that might be?
No. If memory serves, it'll late April, early May if I had to pull the timetable out of my hat. My lovely hat.
Okay.
But I don't know. The spring and autumn sales, now it's just kind of not in kind of dicks when you compare it to like the big summer and winter sales. That's really what you should be anticipating. If you are anticipating some sort of sale. And that's fucking 3-4 months off.
Yeah. It's longer than that, man. Not usually in like August.
Nah, June, July. It's usually. I think initially it used to be in June, and then they kind of moved it over to July.
Yeah, I guess to make room for the spring sale. They had to add that extra sale in there, man. Just gotta do it. Anyways.
All right. I think we're coming to a close. We have had people popping in and out, but as of right now, our only viewer is Iron Fist.
Iron Fist! Oh, man.
Which is Dan.
Is this... Oh.
It's Dan.
Alright,
You know, if someone had told me about Dark Souls with the same, like, excitement and, like, fervor as you talked about, like, Bloodborne, I would have been playing it years ago.
Dude,
These games sound amazing.
You can pick the original Dark Souls up on sale usually for like around $5 whenever it goes on sale. I strongly recommend picking it up, dude. It's worth
a
it.
Guy who couldn't complete the Smite tutorial. Like, I don't know if Dark Souls is the game for him, man.
It is unbelievably
Smite
difficult.
is just broken. That's what it is.
That's what it is. It's a MOBA, therefore it's broken, right?
Crap game. It gives me the option to not play the tutorial. And so I'm like, all right, I'm an adult. I have an adult brain. I can figure it out as I play. And it wouldn't let me advance. It like crashed the game and it broke it because I didn't want to play the tutorial. They couldn't fathom someone would want to play the tutorial.
I'm sure that's
like,
exactly how it happened.
Crash the game.
That's exactly how it happened. They set that up
Years
ago.
Exactly.
But yeah, Dark Souls, man. You're gonna be prepared to be very fucking frustrated until you figure that game out. I mean, I started on Demon Souls, so I mean, arguably that's the most difficult out of all of them. So, you have a PS3, right? Oh, I thought you did.
He's Xbox fanboy for life.
Because honestly, you should just go back and play Demon Souls, but that's a PS3 exclusive. But yeah, Dark Souls 1's really good. Like I said, it's one of those things. It's a very slow-paced game. You have to be very calculated. You'll get it eventually. The other thing is, like, I strongly recommend not being afraid to look it up online if it comes down to it, because there's a lot of items that I never would have figured out what they did unless I looked them up online. Like, never, ever, ever in the entire fucking world would I have figured out what they did. So, I don't know. It's also one of the other things, and then I'm done talking about this series. Fucking one of the other things that I absolutely love about that game is the story is there for you to figure out. Like, it doesn't cram it down your throat. if you want to look for it and you want to explore the world, you'll be rewarded by like learning like these subtle things about what took place in this area, or like you know, what where the weapon comes from, and like who you just like bosses that you just killed. But like you'll learn all that stuff by reading weapon descriptions, or interacting with like objects in the world, or picking up on like subtle hints from NPCs, rather than like this game shoving like a bunch of cinematics down your throat and saying, here, it's story mode, play through the story. You know, it's, you just figure it out on your own. And it's one of those things where if you don't care about it, then you never have to really look into it. But if you want to, it's very rewarding.
Or painful. Either one.
No, it's really rewarding. Everybody who says it's painful hasn't played the game.
Why does my video keep freezing?
I don't know. You're gone again, Tim.
It's bothering me.
But yeah, anybody who says that game's painful hasn't given the, how about this? Hasn't given the game a proper chance. A game's really painful until you get it, and then it stops being painful, and starts being really, really fun. It's really what it comes down to. Strongly also recommend playing it with the Xbox controller. Don't play that with the mouse and keyboard.
I've heard many horrible things about that.
Don't do that. It's
also,
awful.
there's a
It's
mod
awful.
you can download to make it run a little bit smoother.
Yeah, there's a couple different things that you can download to make it smoother. But I don't know. Speaking of which, real quick, you know what I found out recently? That people who already own Dark Souls 2 can upgrade to the new one, and they get all the DLC for $19. Which I'm totally like, I'm okay with.
That's a lot better than what they had in mind of just buying the game.
Yeah. No, if you already own Dark Souls 2, you'll get the updated graphics, and you'll get all the DLC that's come out for the game for $19, which I'm totally okay with. Like, that might give
I'm sure
me...
people that bought the DLC are not okay with that, though.
Oh, I think it's $10 if you have all the DLC and stuff. It's just $10 if you want to.
Okay,
upgrade.
so it's just
Yeah.
it's a tiered upgrade.
Yeah. And even if you have just the first one, I think it's down to like $45. So it's like $15 if you have the first one, and then
Yeah, that is light years ahead of just like, hey, buy our game again.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you kind of saw them do that with the Zombie Army trilogy too, like discounting it. The more, I guess, out of the series that you owned. So I'm glad to see that develop. Like with all these remakes coming out and stuff, like I don't mind. Like, but at least give people a discount for the people that already have it. So these developers kind of seem to be figuring it out, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
All right, well, we've been going for little on over an hour.
Yep.
I suggest we try the giveaway thing again.
Okay.
I'll pick something out of my hat and give it to Dan for being such a loyal viewer.
All right. So,
And we will be live Wednesday.
yeah. We will.
Yes. Okay.
10 p.m. on Wednesday. Wednesday.
All right, well, you have been watching the Dark Mushroom Media Cast. Hope you've enjoyed, and we will be back on Wednesday.
Yep. I'm Palmer. That's Tim. We got Jose down at the bottom there. You can see our Twitch TV channels. We're all individual streamers as well as our Twitter handles under there. We've got
There
Tim
should be an underscore between the T.
In what?
My Twitter.
Oh, in his name.
Really? Because I typed
it up.
no, I typed it in and it went just fine. I actually like double checked that, like, and it went straight to your channel. Or is there somebody else named CAD007?
Or maybe
There is.
Jose has
I
split
have to-
personalities and he just goes
I
on
have
one
to
account
draw
and the
them.
other.
Yeah, it definitely went to a Twitch channel.
Okay, then there's a doppelganger.
Uh-oh. All right. Yeah, I just kind of assumed it was yours. But yeah, I will correct that anyways. Follow us at any one of those, and we'll see y'all on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in.